I non-stop played Killjoy for months during the Killjoy to Ascendant series. And even though it was a rough journey, I learned a lot of things about this agent. And in this Killjoy guide, I want to share everything I learned. In this video, I'll go over the abilities, setups, the playstyle, and in the end answer the question, is Killjoy a good agent to rank up with? Now sit back, relax, and let's start with the abilities of Killjoy. Honestly, we just have to start with the Nanos farm, because there's one mistake that every beginner Killjoy is making, including me, and that's that on the defender side, a lot of people will always throw down their Nanos farms at the start of the round. On paper, it makes sense, right? Last game you got wrecked by that enemy Killjoy that put down a setup on the side, so this game you're gonna throw down your Nanos farms, make a trap every round for the enemies, and hope you get kills like that. However, I truly believe that this is not the optimal way of playing KJ. You need to find a balance between defensive setups and more info-based setups where you save your Nanos farms and use them as a lineup mid-round. When you always throw down your Nanos farms on the ground, the enemies will know that and they will try to find them to destroy it. And on top of this, if the enemies are not pushing your side, your Nanos farms are completely useless. However, with lineups, the enemies don't always expect a Nanos farm, and that can get you a lot of kills mid-round, like in this round.
Swarm grenade out. Can't use that. Placing swarm grenade. Swarm grenade out.
See, 2 molly kills in one round, and I didn't even use proper lineups. Of course, there are some rounds when you want to go for a full setup before the barriers are going down, but not always. Try to find the balance, and I'll talk more about balancing your setups later this video, when I go in depth into the playstyle of this agent. But first I want to talk about the other abilities. Let's now move on to this cute turret over here. The sentry gun must be KJ's most iconic ability. Let me give you some tippies about this ability. A thing you need to know is that the turret on itself is not very good. On itself, it's only good to get info and that's it. However, if you combine a turret with either yourself or other abilities, then it suddenly becomes very good. How do you do that? Well, you could for example place it down somewhere, stand around the corner, wait till it shoots, and when it activates, the enemies will be distracted, then peek yourself and get a kill. A bit like this. Another important thing you need to know about the KJ turret is about the first round of each halves. In the first round, the enemies of course don't have big armor. Some might not even have any armor because they buy a ghost in those rounds. And because of this, the damage of your turret suddenly becomes very strong. Even though the amount of damage your turret puts out isn't a lot, it will be significant in these type of rounds. So this leads to another very important tip. Try to place your turret in the first round as far as possible. So on bind, instead of placing it on top of this box over here, try to place it further back over here on heaven for example. When you do that, it's way harder for the enemies to destroy it, because the classics don't do a lot of damage on long range, and your turret might put out a lot of chip damage on the enemies. That's exactly what I did in this round. Take a look at it, and I want you to pay attention to all the shooting sounds my turret is making from the back. I sadly died a little later, but if you look at the right over here, you find out that my turret did 67 damage. That's almost enough to get a full kill only by the turret itself. The turret did 70 damage. Very good, very good. And the last thing you really need to know about the KJ turret is that it's very strong for holding the flanks on the attacker side. Way stronger than your Q ability. And that's immediately another mistake that I personally made a lot. When I started picking up KJ, I used my Q a lot for holding the flanks and not my E ability. And that's not very good, my friends. First of all, your sentry is better in spotting the enemies. They will spot the enemies from a longer range. And second of all, your Q ability is way better in the post plant. The combination of an alarm bot with a Nanos farm on the spike just wins rounds, man. Let's move on now. What's another thing you need to know about the alarm bot? Another very good strength of this ability is on the defender side, and that's that you can place it down to gain control over a certain area of the map. What do I mean, and why is this so strong? Well, my friends, as an example, let's go to A on bind. A thing you can do when playing A is that when the barriers are going down, place your alarm bot deep in showers, and after that you can hold the side with your back to showers. This is exactly what I did in the round you see in the background. And like you see, I don't pay any attention to showers, I don't turn around because my alarm bot doesn't go off, and because of that I get way more control over the side and get some easy kills from unexpected angles. Oh. And alternatively, if your alarm bot does go off, you can simply turn around and get the enemies while they are vulnerable, like in this round.
Found them. One enemy remaining.
Nice, bro.
So my friends, a big strength, place it to gain control over an area of the map. And just like the sentry turret, you can also very good play off it. Place it down, stand around the corner, wait till it goes off and then peek.
Found them.
Oh, the ID is so good, but my aim. but no worries. Next ability, the ultimate of Killjoy. This one might be the strongest ability in the game. When your ultimate is ready, either taking or retaking a site becomes so easy. But there are a few things you need to know about this ability. And the first thing is that communication with your teammates is essential when you want to place down this ultimate. Oftentimes when you want to push something with your ultimate, a lot of teammates will be impatient and push to side anyway. Like this round on Lotus over here. I wanted to place down my ulti in the corner, but like you see, my teammate Raze is already on site. And because he is already on site, the fights are already gonna happen on site, so my ultimate will be way less effective. If I had communicated more clearly, maybe Raze wouldn't have pushed the site and we could win the round easy peasy. But I understand, my friends, that sometimes when you are communicating, your teammates still don't listen to you. So what do you do when your teammates are pushing anyway? Do you still place your ult down or do you don't push it down? This is what my coach Slayer Key said about that.
So at this point, don't even worry about it. Like, this Raze is doing you a favor. She's already making the space. All these fights are already going to happen and no one's going to want to wait for this ult because they're all going to want to help your Raze. So save the ult, go out the Raze.
Another very important thing you need to know about the Killjoy ultimate is that it's so strong in combination with the Nanos farm. In fact, this combo is actually one of the motivations of me starting this YouTube channel. Some OG viewers might remember it, but the very first video on this channel was about this combo on Ascent. And the best part, 4 years later, after tons and tons of Valorant updates, this combo still works. All you gotta do is place your ultimate in this corner, and when you look at the minimap, there's only a small part where enemies can hide. So you just stand next to the tree, throw your Nanos farm in between the leaves, it will land on that part and easy kills for you. This is a tricky I used a lot during the series. Oh no, it's not too late! It still works. The ladder still works. Of course, this is not the only map where you can do this combo on. You can also do it on Haven, Split. But I would say hop into a custom game, do some tests and get those easy retakes. Okay, those were the abilities of Killjoy. And before I start talking about the playstyle, I first want to give you a few quick tips. Because KJ has a lot of small mechanics you have to know before you start to play her. The first one is about retracting your sentry and alarm bot. A cool thing you gotta know is that you can retract both abilities on the same time. This mechanic saves a little time with the animation, and this can actually save your life. I don't think I need to say this next thing, but I'll do it anyway because I personally made the mistake. Don't retract your abilities when peeking something. You can't shoot when retracting, so don't be like me.
Recalling my bot.
Whoa, I was recalling while peeking. Don't do that. Another tippy is about the Nano Swarms. When you go for the defensive setup and you throw down 2 Nano Swarms, make sure that you first activate the Nano Swarm closest to the enemies and after that the one further away. If you don't do that, you give the enemies time to destroy the first Nano Swarm and then your setup will be less effective. Take a look at this round for example.
Found them. Swarm grenade out.
Did you spot it? If you pay close attention, I decided to activate my right swarm grenade first and after that my left swarm grenade. But because of that, I didn't have time to activate the left one, so bad Mr. Lowlander. And then a tippy about her turret, you can also hide underneath it for an off angle. Oh, old trick. And those were the tippies. Let's talk about the playstyle of KJ now. How do you play this agent on the attacker and the defender side? Let's start with the defenders. The real strength of Killjoy on the defender side is that she can perfectly hold the site all by herself and she can provide valuable information to their teammates. Overall, you can do this by using 2 types of setups, a defensive setup and an aggressive setup. When you know the difference between these 2 setups and know when to use them, the defender side should be easy peasy for you. So let me explain them. First, the defensive setup. With these type of setups, you place your turret so it only spots enemies when they are entering a site. When we take B on bind for example, you place your turret over here. After that you place your alarm bot on a spot where your turret can look at and then place 2 nano swarms around your alarm bot. The reason why this setup is so good is that as soon as the enemy is entering the site, your turret will start shooting at them. When this happens, you activate your swarm grenades, peek behind it, and since the enemies are so distracted by all your abilities, usually you can get a lot of easy kills, like in this round.
Nice. Nice.
A defensive setup is perfect if you are holding the site all by yourself or if you are playing an eco round, because you don't need good guns to get a lot of kills in these type of rounds, easy win. However, there are also some downsides of defensive setups. The first one is that once an enemy team falls for a defensive setup, they usually don't fall for it again in the same game. In the Netherlands we have the saying, a donkey doesn't bump into the same stone twice, and you also have that with Killjoy setup. The second downside of a defensive setup is that you usually throw your 2 nano swarms before the barriers are going down, which means that if the enemies doesn't push into your setup, your nanoswarms are becoming completely useless. Not very good. And the last downside is that you don't really get info with your abilities. You only get info at the point that the enemies are pushing the side and not before that. But no worries, to counter these downsides we also have another type of setup, and those are the aggressive setups. Or maybe a better naming of these type of setups are the information setups. Instead of hiding your turret, you place your turret looking into the entrance with these setups, and for your alarm bot you place it on a different spot, so you get control over multiple areas of the map. The main goal of these setups is to get early intel, so you can catch lurkers and tell to your teammates if they need to rotate or not. And the best part is that you can save your nanoswarms, so you can use them mid-round with lineups like I mentioned earlier this video.
Out. One enemy.
Okay, let's move on. That was the defender side. Now it's time to talk about the attacker side. How do you play Killjoy then? What I've experienced is that usually Killjoy is the lurk player. If you really think about it, the KJ abilities are not really for pushing with your team. She doesn't have a flash, doesn't have a good entry, but instead her abilities are for controlling certain areas of the map. And when you are lurking, you can place your bot behind you guys, for example, so it will hold the flank. And while your turret is holding the flank, you can also maybe go for a sneaky push, get info and kill enemies from behind. There's one exception though, and that's when your ultimate is ready. If this ability is ready, of course play with your team, play around your ulti, and usually when the KJ ult is ready, the site is basically free. Okay, before we go to the next part of the video, I really need to talk about the post plant of Killjoy. Because another real good strength of KJ is that she's so good at the post plant, if you know what you're doing. First, let me show you a mistake. When you plant the spike, a thing that you not really should be doing is throwing 2 nanoswarms on the spike and then go away. This is something that a lot of beginner KJs do. I also did it myself, but when you do this, usually after activating your first nanoswarm, the enemies will definitely destroy the second one, so not a very effective setup. Instead, the strategy that worked a lot for me was to place down 1 nanoswarm and your alarm bot on the spike, then go away, wait till the alarm bot goes off, activate the nanoswarm, and use a lineup for your second nanoswarm. A bit like this.
Placing swarm grenade. Out. Swarm grenade out. Placing swarm grenade. Swarm grenade out. Gadget fun. Enemy down. My turn. One enemy remaining. Accuracy.
So my friends, I think it's now time to answer the question, is Killjoy a good agent to rank up with? Personally, I struggled a lot with this agent. Because KJ has a very unique playstyle and you need to learn a lot of things like setups and lineups, I think for my own experience, KJ is one of the harder agents to rank up with. However, if you want to take the time and really learn how to play this agent, you will definitely carry some teams and win some games in competitive. She's lots of fun to play with, so just try it out. I hope you learned something today and I see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.